Welcome to the Healing Heart podcast, where all healing is always a matter of the heart. I'm your host, Donna Campbell, also known as the Mind Whisperer, interviewing guest experts on all matters of healing. Hi, everybody, and welcome back here to the Healing Heart podcast. And I am your host, Donna Campbell. Now, my guest today has been doing a lot with the world of children and the world of adults with metaphysics and teaching. Eva is an international best-selling author, and she is the founder of Dancing Jaguar Inspirations. It is a company that creates metaphysical programs and products for all ages. Now, Spirit Camp is a foundational program that provides a smorgasbord of teachings so participants can create a wisdom toolbox for life. And when students learn to trust their intuition and connect to their higher wisdom, they're able to thrive and live with confidence and self-awareness. And I'm so excited to have Eva because children is one of my passions, and helping and teaching them all in the spiritual realm and even in the world of healing. So welcome to the show, Eva.
Thank you. And thank you so much for having me here. It's really a pleasure to be able to come and chat with you and your audience.
Yes. What I really want to know is, how did you get started working with children in the world of metaphysics? What led you to that with what you do?
Well, I have always loved working with children, and I have always been very spiritual and really followed my own spiritual path my entire life. And after suffering a traumatic brain injury, my life really it took a left turn, and I needed to come back to my roots and live with my parents in Maine for quite a few years as I recovered from that. But it was during the process of healing from a traumatic brain injury that I started receiving information at 3:20 in the morning, always at 3:20, with downloads of information about really fun ways to teach children about being made up of energy and being a spirit in a human body. And at first I had no idea what all of this meant, but over time I started trusting that I was being given insight into a totally new way to support children. And over time, as I gathered the information and started sharing it with the children of my friends, everybody was loving it, thriving, and the parents wanted more, the kids wanted more, and it eventually ended up coalescing into Dancing Jaguar Spirit Camp for Kids. And it has been a smashing success because I do believe it's a one-of-a-kind program. There are very few, if any, other metaphysical summer camps for kids.
Yes. So if somebody was to go to the metaphysical summer camp, the children, what would they learn during that week?
Oh, it's so big. Well, first of all, they spend their first day creating all of the sacred tools that they're going to learn how to use throughout the week. They create their spirit toolbox, a set of rattles, a dream catcher, a talking stick, a medicine pouch, and we start learning about sacred tools and how to use them and how to honor them and respect them. And as we're doing all of that craft making on the first day, we're building community, and we're building building the container for the trust for all of the work that we're going to be doing throughout the rest of the week. And on the second day of camp, the children learn all about being made up of energy. And we learn, or we teach them all about chakras and their chakra system and how that works within their body. And we spend the entire morning working with chakras, and the children make their own pendulums and learn how to use pendulums to check their chakras to see if they're open or blocked. And then they learn how to unblock them, and they get a set of chakra stones, a little bag of gemstones that they get to learn how to use to activate any chakras that are experiencing blocks. And in the afternoon, we do a lot of work around auras and what auras are. And the children use dowsing rods to detect how large their aura and their partner's aura is, which is really a wonderful way to kind of work your way into personal space and how big our personal space is and what it feels like when somebody is in our personal space that doesn't necessarily resonate with our energy and what to do about that. So Tuesday is all about energy, and Wednesday is all about learning how to work with spirit helpers and how to do shamanic journeying and how to find support from spirit helpers and ask for it and what that may look like, and how to honor your power animal. The children find their power animal, which is like a guardian angel, kind of a spirit helper in animal form. And that is a huge, exciting day for children. And then Thursday, we start diving into content that is easily transferable into public schools for those people who become certified in Spirit Camp for adults. Spirit Camp for kids, teaching. The kids learn how to identify their inner talk, their inner critic, and their inner champion, and they learn how to reclaim their personal power when they feel disempowered or when they're feeling vulnerable or not heard. They learn mindfulness techniques. They learn breathing techniques. So it's a day of inner work in a little bit of a different way, not quite as much the deep spiritual slant that we've had in the previous days of the week. And then on Friday, I feel like it's the icing on the cake for kids because they learn to go outside and connect energetically with the natural world. They connect to the trees, the plants, the boulders on the property, and they do a meditation with a tree to bring back a message from the tree to share with us in our group. And I feel like that really is what the bottom line of what Spirit Camp is all about, because by the end of the week, the children have really embodied the wisdom and the knowledge that we are all one and we are all connected. And whatever we do to anything or anyone else, we are actually doing to ourselves because of that connectedness that they have experienced at Spirit Camp. And I think that sets up our planet for so much hope. Because these children, as they grow up, will be changing the consciousness of the planet, having embodied that knowledge and wisdom at such a young age.
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I totally admire that you do this and you do it on a full-time basis, because I know when I first started in my healing practice, one of the parents asked me if I wouldn't do a camp for children. And I did. I only taught it one time during one summer for a week. And, it is a lot of work to do, but hats off to you because you're doing this, you're doing it on a consistent basis. I believe it's incredibly important to teach and share with the children, because that's how I got started as a healer with my own children, asking me questions I did not have answers to. So I would go, I would research, I would learn. And the next thing you know, here I am 25 years later, and I have a full-blown international healing practice. But for you, why is it important for you to share all of this information with children? I know you said, children are our future, but what are some of the results that children receive, and how can they heal by going through the metaphysical camp?
I feel like Spirit Camp for children, completely shifts the way children see the world, their understanding of the world, because I think the best way to share the information about that or answer your question is to share a couple of stories.
Yes.
Like one of the stories that I love is from a 5-year-old who hadn't even started kindergarten yet when she went to Spirit Camp. She started kindergarten like 2 months later. And one of the days that she was at kindergarten, at lunchtime, she missed her mom and she started crying. And the other kids at school poked fun of her. So when she came home and she was relaying this story to her mom was heartbroken about what her daughter had experienced. But she said, "How did you handle that?" And her child just very matter-of-factly said, "Mom, I know how to shield myself. I zipped up my chakras." Just very matter of fact, she knew what to do to take care of herself. Now, zipping up your chakras, for those of you who might not understand what that means, is a way to shield yourself around negative energy so that you're not taking in any of the negativity that is coming at you. So this child immediately, 2 months after she went to Spirit Camp, used one of her tools to protect herself when She was in a situation where people were not being kind to her. And another fun story I have from a 5-year-old is this child who was one of my very first spirit campers. And she was local. Her mom was actually a friend of mine. And a couple of months after spirit camp ended, my friend came home from work exhausted. And her 5-year-old daughter just went up to her and said, "Mom, why don't you let me align your chakras for you before dinner? I think you'll feel better." So in that moment, my friend said she realized that not only was she impressed that her daughter remembered how to do that from 2 months ago, but she also realized the importance of this work, because her daughter at 5 years old had stepped into the role of being a partner in the holistic well-being of the family. And none of us had seen that coming, but her daughter had knowledge, wisdom, and tools to be able to support her mother when her mother was having a hard time. And then that child, who was a very compassionate, empathic child, went on to teach and support her.
Okay, it looks like she froze. There's a little bit of technical difficulties there, so she'll pop back on, and then we will continue with our interview.
So when I heard my friend describe how important these teachings are, because it helps children become active participants in the holistic well-being of their family, I realized this was even bigger than I realized, and that these children now are starting to share these beautiful practices with friends and family and cousins. And it's an amazing thing to watch as this little ripple effect of the work that I'm doing with children is rippling through my community. It's beautiful. So that is my vision for the world, that I have a teacher training program now. So I am certifying other adults to take this curriculum and work with children in their communities. And my vision is that the more spirit camp teachers that are out there in the world, the bigger this ripple effect will be on the rest of the world, and that we really can change the consciousness of our planet in like 20 years, because these kids will be adults having grown up with so much more awareness and so much more consciousness.
Yes. And I absolutely agree with all of that. Even my own children, just growing up with what I do as a healer, we moved. And when we moved to Montana, they went to school here. And one day my daughter came home and she said, "Mom, we didn't grow up like the rest of the kids, did we?" And you're like, "No, you haven't." And she goes, people need to be kinder and more generous and more of these things, which is what they learned with virtues and all of that. And so they're some of the most tender-hearted kids, but they're going out and making impact in the world. What I want to know from you, though, is because you've watched this for a while, you've been teaching these for several years. What is the impact it has on families when the children go through the metaphysical camp?
Well, one of the parents emailed me a few months after a spirit camp to share what happened with her family. So her daughter was about 8 years old the first time she went through spirit camp. Like, kids come back year after year after year because it's the only camp of its kind where they can learn about them. So anyway, this parent said prior to spirit camp, whenever her daughter was in a bad mood, everyone around her knew it, and everyone else was impacted by this child's bad mood. After she went to spirit camp, when she was in a bad mood, she would go to her bedroom, slam her door, and come out a different child 20 minutes later, because she went straight to her little spirit toolbox and started rifling through, like sorting through some of the tools that she learned how to use at spirit camp, and would pick something that resonated with her in that moment and use that tool to help get herself in more of an alignment, more centered, grounded, peaceful. She knew how to do it herself. She was no longer waiting for something outside of her to help change her mood for her. She knew how to do it herself at 8 years old. And it changed everything for that family, because this child was seen as a difficult child prior to spirit camp, and it really helped shift everything so it became more manageable. And when the child was having challenges and was not thinking about the wisdom toolbox, all her mom had to do was say, hey, you've got some tools from spirit camp. What could you use right now to help yourself, to support yourself?
I love that. I love it. And it allows them to take ownership of who they are and the responsibility. And then they can really start creating their reality moving forward when they learn everything that you guys teach in Spirit Camp.
It is so empowering for children who often feel like everything in the world is happening to them. But when they start learning these tools and techniques and how to do self-care at 6, 7, 8 years old, it is such an empowering way for them to show up in the world. They're showing up for themselves, and they're showing up much more confident and self-aware as they're moving forward in the world.
Yes. I love it. I love it. I love it. All right. You guys are here with the Healing Heart podcast, and our guest today is Eva. And we've been talking about the metaphysical camp called Spirit Camp for children, with what she's been doing and teaching with them. We're going to take our quick sponsor break. And when we come back, we're going to shift the conversation just a little bit, because, it's just not for children anymore. Get what you always wanted. Abundant life is possible. Transform your lifestyle in just weeks with the most innovative system developed for heart-centered business professionals who seek change today. You are one step away from creating infinite prosperity, happiness, and love. Grab your bonus link now that's in the show notes. Welcome back, everybody, here to the Healing Heart podcast, and I am your host, Donna Campbell. My guest today is Eva, and we have been talking about Spirit Camp. It's a metaphysical camp for children to experience, to learn how to empower themselves, to use all the different metaphysical tools. It's part of the 7 arts and sciences, if you go back to some of the ancient teachings of how to shift, change, grow your energy, learning all about that. But one of the fun things is it started off with children, but yet it's not just for children anymore, because you have a whole separate adult side of this. So share with us what you do with adults if they wanted to go to a week-long camp.
Thank you for that. Yes, as I was teaching Spirit Camp for children over the past few years, I kept hearing from their parents, but what about us? We need something like this too. I needed this camp when I was a child and I didn't have it, but I still don't know the things that my child is being taught. So I need this for me as well. So I started thinking about creating Spirit Camp for adults. And as of this year, 2023, we do have Spirit Camp for adults that is being taught in person and virtually. And there is also a Spirit Camp for adults teacher training program for those people who work in the healing arts, and they want to be able to provide a new way of working with their clients, provide their clients with tools and techniques that the children have been learning for the past few years in Spirit Camp. So the adults learn a lot of the same things the kids learn, but we expand upon some of the teachings. Like excuse me, we share more information about creating sacred space and why you create sacred space and how you create sacred space and how to bring that into your home and create a space for you in your home that can support your spiritual practice. And talking about more gratitude practices. We bring in, I mean, we do that a little bit with the kids, but we expand it with the adults. So we bring in more law of attraction with the adults than we do with the kids. Like the kids get tastes of a lot of things.
Yes.
And in the adult camp, we take those tastes and we expand them a little bit more. So the adult, excuse me, the adult program has been referred to as a metaphysical smorgasbord because there are so many things that adults can taste test and kind of figure out what's the thing that I'm really drawn to exploring deeper. Like one adult told me that she had spent so much money doing a course on crystal healing and a course on Reiki, and they didn't really resonate for her, but she felt like she had thrown away hundreds of dollars and she didn't really know where to go next. But Spirit Camp for Adults provides her with a way to explore a lot of different things and then be able to discover what it is that's calling to her next to go spend her hundreds of dollars on.
So for the adults, yes, they get to taste everything. They get to learn little bits, expand in some of the different places. Sacred space is so incredibly important in all of the things because it helps, really provide focus and clarity for a lot of people, just having that sacred space and that time out because it's a way to love and nurture yourself. Exactly. What are some of the healing results you see when adults go through the coursework?
Well, oh my gosh, there was one woman, I read a couple of children's books in the adult program as well, because they are ageless, timeless, classic books that really bring home the teaching that I want in that particular module. And I started reading one of the children's books, and one of the adults in the class just cried through the whole thing. And as we were sharing afterwards, she said that that was such a healing moment for her inner child, because she realized when I started reading the story in a circle that she had never been read to as a child. She had a very abusive childhood, and no adult had ever read her a bedtime story. Wow. And she felt like coming to Spirit Camp for Adults was a really safe place for her to be able to give things to her inner child, to have her inner child experience things that she had never experienced before. So that entire week, whenever I would bring out a storybook to read to my students, you could just tell she was just allowing that inner child to come forward and to be healed.
Nice. I love that. And that is so very, very touching. It's so funny you talk about books because even as adults, I get asked this question a lot on a lot of different stages. What's one of your favorite books, in the business world? Why? And what did you learn from it? And I often cite a children's book called Old Turtle and the Broken Truth. And it's really about being connected to all things and really what the ultimate truth is. So it's a book by Douglas Wood. It's beautiful. So I absolutely love that you still do children's books with adults because it's so incredibly healing with that.
It is.
Now, one of the things you mentioned earlier was that now you're opening it up for other people to become teachers and trainers of this camp to go into a lot of different communities and share this with other people. So share with us what type of training, where to go, what to do, and what do they get trained on so that they can take it to their community.
Okay. Well, the Spirit Camp for Adults teacher training program is coming up really soon. So I'll share a little bit about that one. It's coming up the next month. The training programs for both camps, kids and adults, are 6 days long, and they're broken up in 1 weekend a month for 3 months. So we do a 5-day training on a Saturday and a 5-hour training Saturday and Sunday, 3 different months. And then people do a practicum, which is practice teaching, videotaping them or taping themselves, recording themselves.
There we go.
I'm old school videotaping. But they record themselves, practice teaching, and send that to me. And then I critique it. And then upon passing the practicum, people become certified and are able to use the Spirit Camp logo to be able to start sharing the curriculum in their community. And I just want to show you, like, the curriculum It's not small. It's a huge body of
Yeah.
work
Wow.
that comes in 8 different tabs. Part of this is a business in a box that people get with instructions on how do you build a business if you don't have one? How do you expand your business if you already have one? What's your target market when you're working with the Camp for Kids? Or what's your, how do you reach your target market in the adult camp? So one of the things that I want to share is adults oftentimes cannot take 5 days off from work to come to Spirit Camp like kids can in the summer. They're off school for the summer. So Spirit Camp for Adults has the flexibility of being taught like one Saturday a month for 5 months. And people can do like a recurring payment. And you've got, income coming in every month for 5 months as you're taking people through the Spirit Camp for Adults curriculum. And that is a rhythm that is being really validated by the participants in Spirit Camp for Adults. They love it that way. But if you did want to do a full week program, you could even rent a retreat center and hold Spirit Camp for Adults retreats, which I think are going to be hugely popular. I'm traveling to Mexico next week, and I'm going to look at an all-inclusive resort to see if I can teach a Spirit Camp for Adults at an international destination.
Oh, fun. Fun. And where it's warm. I'm up here in Montana. It's a little cold this time of year, but yes, that is truly amazing.
So there are so many business opportunities for people who want to explore becoming a teacher in either one of the camps, because you get everything you need to hit the ground running, and you can start teaching as soon as you're certified. You've got what you need. You're ready to go.
For all of those that are out there in the healing industry or who want to start off in the healing world, learn more, not only take the coursework for yourself, but teach it and share it with others. This is like a done for you program. You show up, you do the curriculum, you share back the results, and then you get to have an entire business based around this, really creating that impact in the world a better place, working with children and adults, depending on which program you go to.
Yes.
Absolutely. I love it. So how do we get in touch with you to access all of this goodness?
The website is dancingjaguarinspirations.com. And all of the information on both teacher training programs and both of the programs for children and adults, everything is right there on the website.
Oh, nice.
And I am doing a free webinar on March 8th to tell people more about the Spirit Camp for Adults teacher training program and what that can do for you, just in terms of what you can offer to the people in your community. So you can find that information on the website as well. And you want me to put anything in the chat, or will you be adding a link?
We'll put everything that you're sharing here in the show notes. So all you guys have to do is just click on it, and it goes all the way through so you guys can get connected. With that, do you have any final thoughts or comments, Eva?
Well, in terms of the children's program, one of the messages I have consistently heard over the past 5 years or 7 years now, since I've had those downloads, is the world is ready and the children are waiting. And my question to your audience is, are they waiting for you? And if not children, the adults in your community may very well be waiting for you, because adults are waking up more and more every single day, asking questions and not knowing who to turn to. So this is an easy way for you to become an expert in your community.
I love it. I love it. So everybody reach out to her. All the information is in the show notes. And for everyone else, just now go create that beautiful day.